grade 6, we're going to read chapters 4, 5, and 6 today because they're very short. So here is the opening drawing for chapter 4. That night, Min Lee could not sleep. Ma's words echoed in her ears, and when she closed her eyes, she saw Ba's hands, shaking from work, feeding the goldfish. Ma's right, Min Lee thought to herself. The goldfish is just another mouth to feed. I can't let Ba feed the goldfish. Ma and Ba work so hard for every grain of rice, Ba shouldn't have to feed the goldfish too. Min Lee slipped quietly out of her bed and crept to the table where the goldfish was. They stared at each other, and Min Lee knew what she had to do. Quickly slipping on her shoes and jacket, she took the goldfish and left the house. It was late. The village was quietly asleep, and the stars above filled the sky like spilled salt on dried seaweed. Min Lee's footsteps seemed to hush the night as she made her way toward the Jade River. At the edge of the river, Min Lee looked at her goldfish one last time. The moon shone above, so even in the darkness of the night, the fish seemed to burn a bright orange. Its black eyes sparkled at her. "I'm sorry I can't keep you," Min Lee whispered. "I hope you'll be all right in the river." And with those words, she emptied the bowl into the water, which, as we know, grade 6, you should never, ever do. But here, the goldfish lived there naturally, so it was okay. For a moment, the fish seemed shocked and was still, like a flickering flame on a match. Then it wiggled in the water and swam in circles, a joyful fire twirling in the water. Min Lee watched it and sighed. As the sound faded into the night, Min Lee realized it was an echo of her mother's impatient, frustrated noise. "Ma will never stop sighing unless our fortune changes. But how will it ever change?" Min Lee asked ruefully. "I guess that is just another question for the old man of the moon. Too bad no one knows how to get to Never-Ending Mountain to ask him anything." The fish stopped swimming and looked up at Min Lee. "I know where it is," it said. The female voice was high and soft, like the wind whistling through the reeds of the water. Min Lee stared. "Did you say something?" she asked. "Yes," the fish said. "I know how you can get to Never-Ending Mountain and ask the old man of the moon a question." "You're a talking fish?" Min Lee asked, her words tumbling into each other with excitement. "How can you talk?" "Most fish talk," the fish said, "if you're willing to listen. Of course, you have to want to hear." "I do," Min Lee said, enthralled and eager. This was just like one of Ba's stories. She bubbled with excitement. "How do you know the way to Never-Ending Mountain?" "Oh, I've swum all the oceans and rivers except for one," the fish said. "And on my way to the last one, the goldfish man caught me. I despaired in his cart, for I've seen and learned much of the world, including the way to Never-Ending Mountain. Since you set me free, I'll tell you." "You've swum all the oceans and rivers?" Min Lee asked. The question spilled like overflowing water. "Which river haven't you seen? Why have you traveled so much? Where is Never-Ending Mountain? When did—" "This river is the only river I have not swum," the fish interrupted. "And I have waited a long time to see it. So I would like to start as soon as possible. You can ask the old man of the moon all your other questions. Let me tell you how to find him so I can be off." Min Lee nodded and asked no more. She realized she was having a conversation with a goldfish, which was very unusual, so she decided to listen. Chapter 5 opens with a drawing of the white rabbit rice bowl that Min Lee kept her coins in. The next morning, Min Lee felt as if her head was spinning with thoughts and plans. She was so busy in thinking and plotting that she barely noticed her parents nodding sadly at each other when they saw the empty fishbowl. And in the fields, when Min Lee worked as if in a daze, her parents said nothing about her slow and messy planting. When the sun began to set and Min Lee went home to make dinner, she quickly washed and made the rice. Then she set the table for 2 people, sat down, and wrote this note. "Dear Ma and Ba, I am going to Never-Ending Mountain to ask the old man of the moon how I can change our fortune. I might be away for many days, but don't worry, I will be fine. When I come back, we will be able to fill our house with gold and jade. Love, your obedient daughter, Min Lee." The obedient part isn't completely true, Min Lee thought to herself, as she knew her parents would not be happy to find her gone. But it's not false either. They didn't say I couldn't go, so I'm not being disobedient. Still, Min Lee knew that wasn't entirely right either, but she shook away her uneasy feelings and prepared for her journey. On a blanket she put a needle, a pair of chopsticks, her white rabbit rice bowl, a small piece of dried bamboo, a hollow gourd full of water, a small knife, a fish net, some uncooked rice, a large pot, and the one remaining copper coin. Then she wrapped her blanket into a bag, tied it on her back, and took a last look at the shabby house. Through the window, Fruitless Mountain stood like a shadow, but Minley closed her eyes and imagined the house shimmering with gold and the mountain jade green with trees, and smiled. Then she opened the door and left, bringing us to our final chapter for today, Chapter 6. As Minley left the house, she was afraid some of her neighbors would stop her or ask where she was going. She felt she must look mysterious with a large bag on her back and full of excitement. But no one noticed her. The neighbors kept sweeping their doorways, hanging their laundry, and preparing dinner. A boy and girl continued their fight over a pretend feast of mud. When the mother called them for dinner, both refused to move, each clinging to their dishes of wet dirt. Minley had to smile at their foolishness. So Minley walked right out of the village without causing a second glance. At the edge of the village, she turned toward Fruitless Mountain. At the bottom of the mountain, she unwrapped her blanket, and took out her knife, needle, rice bowl, bamboo piece, and a jug of water. Then, trying to remember all of the goldfish's instructions, she cracked off a small bit of stone and rubbed it up and down the needle 99 times before tossing it back to the ground. Then she filled her rice bowl halfway with water and let the bamboo float in it. After that, she picked up the needle and looked at the white rabbit on her bowl. "Okay," she said to the jumping rabbit, "lead the way." And she placed the needle onto the bamboo. Like magic, the needle spun around. Minley smiled. So if you're familiar with what she just made, it's not magic. She has made a compass. So the rock she was rubbing the needle on must be magnetic. And then putting it in the water makes it point north. "Thank you," Minley said again to the painted rabbit. "Now I'll follow where you want me to go." Minley packed up her things and, carefully holding the bowl in her hand, walked in the direction of the needle past Fruitless Mountain. "Goodbye, Jade Dragon," Minley said as she left. "When I come back, I will know how to make you happy again." Minley walked, and the stony land